Awesome. I'll give it a couple of seconds to wait to live stream. Guys, we are trying something new. Rianne is a genius and she continues to outdo herself. So we have a new program that we're using tonight and we are super excited to be able to bring you a live class from WA. I will introduce our guest shortly, but before I do, as you know, I have to do the housework. I mean the housekeeping. So I'll do a few thank yous and a bit of information for you before we start tonight's show. We are crossing live from the Gold Coast, but from WA at the same time. So firstly, I want to put out an invitation to come and join as a volunteer. We're looking for volunteers in different areas across from in WA and across Ipswich and Townsville as well, guys. We are establishing a team up in Townsville. So if you are from Townsville or Ipswich and you are looking to get involved and help put the freeze on ice, I encourage you to contact us. You can do that through private message, but on Facebook. But the best way to do it is to hop online, hop onto our webpage, and go on to www.australianantiicecampaign.org.au and click on volunteer with us. And just let us know a little bit about yourself and why you want to volunteer. And so we've got positions open at the moment for next year, and that's in WA, Ipswich, and Townsville. All right, so it could be a day, a week. It could be, half a day. You could have some skills in administration or some folding of pamphlets or printing or anything. Together in unity, we achieve more. So I'm putting out that invitation now, and if that's you, please reach out to us and just click on the volunteer with us on our webpage. Ipswich, Townsville, and WA. All right, so I'm doing a big shout out to you guys. Just wanted to do a huge shout out to Set Free. We have been doing intervention with the street feeds with Set Free and Mel and Edith from there, and the whole team. It's just amazing what's going on there, and we're being able to put people into rehab from there. So our outreach team, on the streets team, they are out and about, guys, and they do outreach on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and also Anthony from our team does feeding of people in need in Surfers Paradise, and he's out there on the streets, feeding people and handing out clothes and stuff. We are also, I wanted to do a big shout out to Cross Life Church. Quite amazing. They're not far from us, and they have really understood the heartbeat of what we do, and it is the work out there with the people, out there, people in need. So they have joined forces with us, and we have been able to provide food and also a lot of comfort and counselling and coming together for the community of Southport here on the Gold Coast. So they have been absolutely amazing, and Pastor Jim there, they are working with us. They're going to be lending us a coffee cart, so we're going to be able to open up this coffee cart that we've been wanting to do for quite some time. So we're super excited to be able to do that, and you'll see us around at events. So we'll have a bit of a graffiti. It's the Neo coffee. Well, it's not. It's Coffex coffee. The Neo van. You'll see that around. Come in and say hi and share your love, guys. So when you see that around, so thank you so much for Cross Life Church. Thank you for joining with us. Last week I was at the Anglican Church in Surfers Paradise, and I shared my testimony there 3 times that last Sunday or Sunday before, and it was really awesome. So we are helping people that have come forward from there as well. See, so the power of the testimony sets the captive free. So people see hope, and they know that you've been through that, and they can see that you've come out of there, and they want to know, how can I do it? So we're here to help, guys. We're not here to judge. You might have been sent this video today And somebody might have said, you really need to share this story, really because they love you and they really want to outreach to you and they want to help. And we're here to support you if you decide that you've had enough of Ice World, as we call it. So it's not a very nice place to live in, and a very small percentage of people make it out. So our heart is to walk with you and to help you put that plan in place and to make the change in your life so you can live a life worth living, eh? So we're doing that across Australia. Like I said, WA team is starting up. We're getting some real traction up there. And also in Townsville, we're setting up office there. We've got some presenters being trained there. And so we've still got our Coffs Harbour and Sydney team. And early next year, I'll be excited to announce, I'm not sure on dates yet, but we will be restarting a Melbourne team again after all these restrictions lift. So that'll be exciting. So this week we've been in Lowood High and Rosewood High and Ipswich High, and we've been doing workshops there over the last week. So we've been really, really busy with workshops, and it's really good because they're going on holidays and we want to warn them against the dangers of ice and other drugs. So it's been a real blessing to go there. And I just want to do a big shout out to Steve Jobson at the Gold Coast Recovery Clinic, and he's been counselling a lot of people. See, when people come to us for help, we buddy them, but we send them to a counsellor as well, and we then we take them up to NA meetings and AA meetings and group therapy. So Steve has really been amazing, helping a lot of people with us. So I just want to do a big shout out to him from Gold Coast Recovery Clinic in Southport. Everyone just really loves going to see him, and he's been just amazing. So thank you, Steve, for your help, because we do have to unpack the underlying issues. If we're not unpacking the underlying issues, we're not really in recovery. We're just not using, and that will come back to bite us, unfortunately, later on. So I encourage you, if you have been through drug addiction and you haven't thought about doing some counselling on that, I do encourage you to do it sooner rather than later, so that it doesn't come back around at some stage later on. And when if it ever comes back, trust me, it comes back a lot, 10 times more worse than it was before. So I just want to do a little promotion of our op shop, guys. We're going to be having a raffle. I can't give you the details yet, but I can tell you that something very big is coming soon. So I want you to keep an eye out and on our op shop, and I think Rianne will put our Facebook op shop page. She might put that down underneath. You can follow that. It's AAIC op shop, and you can follow the Facebook page. So make sure you click on that, and you can be part of the something very big is coming soon. So let's have a look at that. It's pretty cute, actually. So yeah, we're looking for volunteers for the op shop, guys. If you want to volunteer, we still have a couple of spaces left, and especially over Christmas. So we're also giving away clothes and stuff for people in need. So if you have a heart to help those in need, now's the time to do it. Yeah, because that's what Christmas is about, isn't it? It's about giving. So, one more thing before I go. I just needed to remind you about the Bliss Trio. So don't forget that that's our Christmas package that we're doing with Essential Grace. And so Essential Grace have included a special package for us, and it's called the Bliss Trio. So it's 1.5 hours of just absolute bliss, exactly what it says. So that includes a holographic audio and warm towel. You get a massage and a facial and a foot treatment, and it's just beautiful there. And that's in Burleigh at the Swell Resort. So if you want to book your Bliss Trio, your package, we've only got 25 of those available, so you better get in quick. You need to contact Charmaine on 0412 377-011, and just give her the reference AAIC, and you'll get that special package for only $80. And it's our special for Christmas. It is a fundraiser for AAIC, so you'll be it's a double whammy. You'll be able to help us and help us help more people. And you'll also be able to look after yourself and have a treat for Christmas, or you can get a voucher and give it away to a friend. Yeah, so treat somebody for Christmas. That'll be awesome. Great. Okay, so all my houseworks are done now. I'm so excited to introduce to you our guest. Her name is Claire. Welcome, Claire.
Hey, Andrea.
Thank you so much for joining us on the show tonight.
No worries. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to share my story.
Awesome. I believe you recently joined the AAIC team in WA, and the team they just love you. They just think that you're amazing, and I am so super excited because they put you forward to go to a government meeting in WA. So that's you jumped in the deep end, girl.
Yeah, I sure did. No, the guys are great. It's a really, really great team. Everyone seems really supportive, and they welcomed me with open arms, literally. And yeah, this Sunday should be a really good experience for me as well as for AAIC.
That's awesome. And you guys are still recruiting some volunteers. So if I just did a shout out before, if anybody wants to volunteer with WA team, they can get in touch with us, and we'll get somebody to call, somebody from your office there to call them back, and welcome them.
Doesn't matter absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. I want to show you my cup, right? The team gave me this cup. It says I'm always right. And it says in here, inside, it says yes, always. And then they try and pinch my cup so they can be right? But they aren't. I am super, super excited to have you on the team, Claire. And, to be honest, I don't know a lot about your story. I have a brief when you filled out your volunteer paperwork. So I am all ears, and I'm super excited. Looking at you, sweetheart, I would never ever have said that you've been in drug addiction. Like, how long have you been clean?
I have been clean for 21 months and 2 weeks.
Wow, that's awesome. And fantastic. Congratulations.
Yeah, huge transformation. Thank you so much. A massive transformation. Like the way I look now, completely it's a complete, you wouldn't believe the person I was if I was to show you a photo. It's quite devastating to look at. It's difficult to look at now, but it's also very much of a reminder as to what I don't want to go back to. So
I would have loved to have prepared, or I don't know if you've got anything handy of a photo of what you were like back in addiction.
I don't have one handy, but we did talk about this at the WA team meeting last week. I've definitely been planning to kind of get a few together, especially for the presentations when we go out and speak to the kids in the schools and things, because I think it's so important for them to see that we're not just people standing up on a stage trying to talk about the fact we've had lived experience. We can demonstrate where we were and what we've become and the transformation.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your story, Claire. You're doing great things today, and you look fabulous, I've got to say. So, and I've experienced that when I go to a classroom with kids, they go, "Oh, but you look fine," and they don't really see the journey, and they don't see the damage, the internal damage, and the depths of what you've had to climb out of. Tell me a little bit about your story. Like, when did drug use, first start for you, and what was your your childhood or your teenage years like?
So I grew up in a really loving family. My mum and dad are still together today. I've got 3 amazing brothers, one of which I'm very close in age to. We're only 17 months apart. So we grew up very close. And then my younger brothers, that are twins, were born 9 years when I was 9 years old. So there's a bit of an age gap, but it was I'm a very loving, nurturing person. So I used to get so much joy out of helping my mum when I was young, to help with the twins, you know. And so, yeah, like I grew up in a really nice family environment. Nothing unusual, nothing difficult really about it. I went to a good school. I was well looked after. I was probably quite overly protected. It's something that I think my parents even look back on now and think maybe that was a bit too much, being the only girl. And, you know, my mum has had her own experiences of trauma that I think maybe led to me being very overly protective and kind of sheltered out of the real life, you know. Like I wasn't very street smart, to say the least, but I was still raised really well and in a loving family. And I went through school and I finished school and I went on to higher education and developed a really great career in finance. I had my son, and I was actually 25 when I took my first drug. So it was a bit later in life than most, from what I gauge in recovery now. The first drug I took was ecstasy. A very unique experience. It was a very scary experience at first, but then it was kind of, once you've done it once and all the fun that I had, I kind of dabbled in it recreationally for a couple of years. Not often, just music festivals and things like that. And I remember there being a time when they kind of stopped. Like, they weren't really regularly available. There'd been a few deaths at music festivals, and I was around 27 years old and planning on a night out, and we couldn't buy pills. So my friends were able to get hold of ice, and at the time I didn't even know what ice was. I'd heard really bad things on the radio ads, and but there's so many different names for this drug that it's hard to determine which drug, like whether that's what that is, or, I mean, it was referred to me as gear. So when my friend said, we can get this and that's okay, and we can crush it up and we can snort it. And so we did. I just trusted in what they said and what their experience had been with their use before. And I was actually, on that night when I first used it and snorted it, I remember sitting there about half an hour later making a statement that I would never, ever, ever use ice or heroin. And that's when I realised what I'd just done, when my friends kind of said, oh, well, that's what that is. It took some time before I knew that it was a smokable drug. And it was from seeing my friends do that and kind of inquiring about it. And I wouldn't say I ever felt the peer pressure. If anything, my friends at the time were quite reluctant to let me try the drug that way, you know. But being quite strong-headed, and I didn't want to miss out, so I wanted to do what they were doing, you know. And so I did, and it was just something else. Like, it was just, when I think back now, I realise that it was, at that time, I knew that I would be using that drug a lot more than the pills that I'd taken on the odd occasion. It kind of just hooks you, and yeah, like it definitely started off slow, but it didn't take long for it to become a very regular thing every weekend. And then it was like I couldn't go a week. But it takes a week to get out of my system. So by the time the weekend is coming around again, I'm ready to go again. And then, I slowly started losing myself and my life. Like, I literally lost everything.
What is everything?
I was in addiction for...
So what does everything look like? I want you to paint a picture for people, because I know what you're talking about, but a lot of people are going, yeah, but you're kind of skimming.
Yeah, well,
go in there. Tell me.
Yeah, sure. Look, that my high-end career, I was working full-time in the finance industry. I was very successful. I was in an amazing relationship. I was about to get married, and I had a young son who absolutely adored the ground that I walked on. I had a brand new car, and I had my family, who I spoke to every couple of days, whether it was my mum and my dad or one of my brothers. Like there was always, every day there was someone in my family that I spoke to, and every day I had my son, and I shared custody with his dad. Had a great relationship with him as well. But as time went on, I was using more and more, and I was doing it without telling anybody. I started connecting with that kind of release that it was kind of saving me from myself. It was saving me from my thoughts. It was keeping me awake when I was tired from a big weekend. I needed it then to get through the week at work. I started losing jobs. I lost my job, and it wasn't long before I got another job, and then my son had a really bad accident. I mean, he broke his back, which then added to the stress sort of thing, and I wasn't in a capacity to kind of deal with that head on, because I was getting weaker and weaker from using quite regularly. So I had to leave that job as well. I was using every day whilst my son was in hospital without telling anybody. I was living in the hospital and trying to function and trying to keep on top of my emotions and trying to be strong. And as much as I heard every day how strong I was, the only reason I felt like I was strong was because I was highly functioning, because this drug was kind of blocking everything else out, Didn't take long before I lost my relationship. My partner and I broke up about 6 weeks before we were getting married.
So was he using?
Was he using?
Your partner, yeah.
He had used. He used sporadically, but he was not using to the capacity that I was. He found that he worked away. So when he worked away for 4 weeks and he was home for a week, he would use a little bit when he was home. But he had no idea. Like, I was spending his money. I was spending our money. Like, I was spending thousands, and he thought that money was going into an account to pay for our wedding. We had to cancel. We had to cancel one venue for our wedding because I'd spent the money, and explained it away with complete lies. Like, I became the complete opposite to what I'd been raised to be. I went against my values every single day just to get my fix. So that led to me losing him. And then I was on my own with my son and trying to cover myself. From then, I struggled to get work. When I did work, I was in and out of jobs because I couldn't hold a job down. I was drastically losing weight. I dropped down to 38 kilos at one stage, and I remember telling my mum that I was fine, and seeing that pain in her and that worry, because in her eyes she's looking at a frail girl that she doesn't even recognise. And and 38 kilos, I was saying, but I'm putting on weight, Mum. Like, it's the insanity of my mindset when I was back there. Like, I think about it now, and I just, like, God, I remember just crawling into a corner and curling up and crying until my dealer rang to say, I've got stuff, you can come pick up, and that's how I started living. Like, I was destroying I was then a single mum, and destroying my relationship with my son. I was leaving the house in the middle of the night whilst he was in bed. I was bringing people into our home that he didn't know, complete strangers, and pretending like I'd known them forever, And this little boy started, like that look in his eyes when he sees me every day started disappearing, you know, like that happiness and that excitement and that safety started slowly disappearing. And it took me a very long time to admit that I had an issue. I was using every single day, and then I started dealing to cover my habit. And I fell into the trenches then.
Can you tell me, like, what was that time period from when you started using every day? Like, what was when you just used occasionally and then you went to using every day? How long did that take for you to start using every day, Claire?
Literally months, just a few months. Yeah, wow. I started using in late 2013, and I was using every single day by April 2014.
Wow.
And in that short period of time, I'd lost multiple jobs, and I was on my own then. My partner had left, and I was avoiding my family because I didn't want them seeing me after I was in and out of relationships, like meaningless relationships, just because it was those unhealthy connections I was making whilst using the drug, you know, someone that could connect me to being able to get my hands on it, basically. I was neglecting my son. And, yeah, so it didn't – once I was on my own, avoiding my family and trying to live, trying to survive, and I started dealing to
Sorry, we've got a little bit of a delay, so sorry if I cut in. Tell me what was going on for you. Like, could you see that things were deteriorating and that life, you know, you were losing everything, and that your son was hurting? Could you see that? Tell me what was going on in here for you.
No. In my head, I was fine. I was a functioning person. I could stop anytime I wanted. That's what I told myself. I wasn't losing weight. It didn't matter what the scales told me. It wasn't happening. I'd learned how to dodge drug tests that my mum had started taking me for because she was adamant that I was using some kind of drug, and I was like, I'm not. I'm just going through a real rough time. Like, I've had so much going on in my life, and it was that pity party. I wanted everyone to be in the midst of my pity party because I wasn't a drug addict. I was just trying to get by. And that mentality stayed with me for another 6 years. Even when I was dealing, I was like, I'm not addicted. I can stop anytime I want, but I like the money, or it pays for my habit, but I can sell but not use, you know. And I used to even claim to be the friendly local drug dealer because people would come to me, and if they were completely, like if they were in the midst of psychosis, I'd be like, no, go home and rest, come back and see me in 2 days. And I thought that my mentality about that was that I was helping them, when in reality I was destroying them as well, you know. I was giving them access to something that was destroying their world. And the dealing became bigger and bigger, and the type of people I was meeting became more dangerous, and the relationships I was entering were becoming more and more dangerous, and the people coming through my home with my son there were becoming more and more shady. I remember driving to visit a friend, and it was about a half an hour drive, and on the way there I fell asleep and sideswiped a car, and I just kept going. It woke me up, but I was like, oh, oops, and kept driving, you know. On the way back on the same trip, I got stuck between two cars because I fell asleep in a merging lane, and I just kept going and ended up between two cars, jammed. And then I was like, oh, sorry, and kept going again. And that wasn't enough. Like, my insanity was, it was just an accident. I didn't fall asleep. I just wasn't paying attention. The reality was that my body was shutting down, like my brain was shutting down, and I was shutting down, and I couldn't admit it. I'd pulled over on the side of the road and would smoke more to keep me awake until I got home. And I remember a week after that, I wrote that car off. I was in a very bad accident. I was lucky to walk away. Like it knocked me out, and I was underneath a truck. Like my car ended up under a truck. I had the tray of a truck in my windscreen. Wow. And when I came to, there were people literally holding me down so that I didn't jump forward, because there was a tray of a truck in my windscreen, you know. And I got out of that car, and my biggest priority was get this shit out of the car and call my friend to pick me up and just go. And I did. Like, I left before the police got there.
Wow.
And I made sure that I had the stuff with me, because that was save the stuff, you know. Yeah. My car got towed away. I didn't have insurance. I've never seen that car since. Wow. So I lost my $30,000 car. And I just thought I was still saying, this isn't my fault. I didn't fall asleep. I was just driving somewhere that I wasn't familiar with.
Yeah. I hear you. It's the whole denial thing, you know, and Claire, we see people every day that are in that place, you know. They're just, no, I don't have a problem. I just need to, you know, not use as much, and I'm managing it. You know, it's just something that I do for fun, and I'm okay. And they're making a big deal. My family's making a big deal about it, or people that have contacted us on their behalf. I had a question for you. Did your family see what was going on, and did they try to show you, like, what were they saying?
It didn't take them long to see and to realise that there was something drastically wrong. My mum and dad tried so hard to get the truth to start with, and when they finally got the truth, I went along with their intention to help, but I was able to me, I was pulling the wool over their eyes. They weren't buying it, and I only know this now, since we've had these conversations, now that I'm in recovery, that it got to the point where they were so desperate that they just had to stop. My mum, I remember sitting with my mum and, like, just telling her that I'm fine, Mum, like I'm okay, I'm not using anymore. And she would be crying and crying. And even my dad is so timid and so gentle and quite a shy man, but his love for his kids is beyond anything. And my dad sat in front of me in tears, begging me, like, to just stop. I remember my mum and my dad intervening again, and on another occasion, and sitting down and saying, like, my mum crying her eyes out, and I was rolling my eyes. I was like, here we go again, you know, like, these guys just don't get it. Like, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not doing anything wrong. Like, I've stopped. And I believed every word I was saying, even though I knew it wasn't true. I believed it, and so that would make them believe me, right? Yeah. My mum cried, and she said, she said, I remember her saying to me, I'm not doing it anymore. She was seeking counselling, like drug and family counselling for family members that use. So she sought that help, and they gave her some great advice. But I remember her saying to me, I'm not going to sit there anymore and watch you die. Like, I'm watching you slowly die. And and from then I was lucky. I mean, I stopped calling, so why should they call, you know? Like, it was always my family, that my brothers intervened. Like, they caught up with me, and I thought I pulled the wool over their eyes, and I guess for them, it got to the point where the more I tried to tell them that I was fine, the more they'd just go, we've got no hope. Like, she still thinks that we're buying this shit, you know? And I really did. Like, I really did. And they wrote me off. They basically, every phone call would be a fight, because I was getting more and more of I was becoming more and more affected by the drug. That anger was kicking in, that defensiveness was kicking in. I was 110% denying that there was anything wrong with me. I was keeping a roof over our heads, but I was getting kicked out within months of moving in, and bailiffs would come and move me out. And then I'd rely on new rental applications just to get another place to stay. We moved house, my son and I moved house 7 times in 14 months. Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot.
It is. And
you know, some people, a lot of people end up, you know, on the street and homeless today very, very quickly because, you know, they're not as fortunate as you were to be able to find another rental, you know, and sustain that.
Yeah, I mean, that didn't last long. Long. I was becoming more and more negligent. I was taking bigger risks. I was expanding my network because I honestly thought that I was some big fish, you know, like I really thought that it became a power thing. Like it was all power and ego, and I was cool, and I had all these different aliases that people knew me by, and I'd hear other people talking about one of my aliases like it was someone else, and they had no idea that that person was me. And I really I thought I was some kind of gangster, and it's quite scary how far I pushed those kind of legal boundaries. It took quite some time for the police to come knocking on my door, but when they did, they came with force, and I had no idea they were coming, but I should have, you know, like I was naive to think that they didn't know what I was doing, because the capacity that I was using and selling, it was ridiculous. My son was there when my house got raided, and it was the most. I can't speak for him, but it was traumatizing for me knowing that he was in the house, you know. But I ended up with charges for possession with intent to sell and supply, paraphernalia, and failure to comply with the orders of an officer because I refused to give my phone passcode over, because I knew if I did that, I was done. But that didn't stop me. Like this is I look back now and I'm like, God, why was I so stupid? Like, why was I so stupid? What kind of insane person just accepts being raided, being up on district court charges that are going to send me to jail for many years, and with my child there, you know, like, and still, like, and when you ask about my son, and the way, when I noticed the way he looked at me, like, I'd stopped noticing because I couldn't look at him anymore.
Yeah.
And that was tough. And I didn't stop. I continued going, you know, like I got out of lockup that day, and I came home to my son, and he was like, "It's okay, Mum. Like I'm okay, and I'm still here." And I was really grateful to the police that they weren't they kind of protected him away from the fact that it was very drug related. They kept him out of the way, but he didn't want to leave my side. They said, we can send him to someone else or a family member, or he can get picked up, and he refused to leave. He didn't want to leave. So they did make sure that he was kind of holding, like, that he was protected from what was going on.
That's so good. How old was your son at that time, Claire?
When I got raided, he was 11, turning 12. Yeah.
Wow.
Turning 12 years old. And I didn't stop.
Yeah. But that's because you couldn't, you know, the ice had hijacked the frontal lobe of your brain, and you couldn't think straight because the midbrain takes over, and very, very quickly the animal brain will do whatever it needs to do for the next 5 minutes of pleasure, even if it is hurt people that they love around them. And it is, that's why it's called ice, you know, it freezes the frontal lobe. You can't think logic, rational decisions. You know? So you do things that you wouldn't normally do. But Claire, we do have a question. We've got a question from Yvonne. She said her biggest struggle in recovery is trying to forgive herself for destroying people's lives by being a drug dealer. She's asking if Claire has felt that as well.
Wow. Every day I still struggle with that. yeah, that forgiving myself has been one of the biggest challenges. And I still hear my mum's words ring in my head. And this was just before I fell to my knees and said, help me. Because my mum, when she found out about my charges and that I was a drug dealer, her words to me were like, you're my child and you are doing these disgusting things. And to my mum, her children are her children, doesn't matter what age they are, we're her children. And she said to me that she wanted nothing to do with me. She was like, I won't be a part of your world anymore. And she said, because I'm not going to sit by and be okay with you selling drugs to other people's children and destroying their lives as much as you've destroyed your own. And I, like, straight away, I was like, I don't sell to children. And she was like, you're my child. And someone is giving that stuff to you. And to every mother, that doesn't matter how old their children are, that's their child. You're selling drugs to someone else's child and you're destroying their lives. And she said, and if you're going to continue that, then I want nothing to do with you at all.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's it's a scary thought, and it's a scary, like, I still, when I think about it now, there's hundreds, probably thousands of people that my drug dealing has affected. But as much as I struggle with it, it's a battle. But I've really got to try and let go of that and accept that that was my world then, and the desperation and the insanity of it wasn't my true character. It wasn't my authentic self. It wasn't that I wasn't living by my values. And so long as I can do that now and I continue to do that, then I know that I can leave that behind me.
Yep.
And I can move on. Yeah.
That's a great answer. And it is like, you do think about the many people, having been there myself, you think about the many people that you've impacted with this drug. But you have to go, okay, I made those choices under the influence. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it the right choice or the right thing. But, the frontal lobe of logic, rational decisions, where you use that to do to operate daily is not functionable. You're not functioning in that capacity. So you've got to go, okay, that's what happened, but that's not who I want to be, and and make it right from that point forward. And you've done extreme, a long time of recovery. You've been heading down the right track, and I know that you're today still helping a lot of people in the area of recovery, and giving back, I guess, with ARC, warning other girls and other youth and other people about the dangers of this drug. I know that daily, our people that go into work do with the workshops daily, we're stopping 60 kids at a time, get to understand the dangers of this drug from a real lived experience, and they get to understand how what we were thinking, and how what actually happened, and how it destroyed our lives. And we can really put it out there and say, is that what you want for your life? We're one of the few that have managed to escape that. It's a minimal amount of people that actually come out of that world. You may not come out. I remember when I met a gentleman in Tony Wood in Sydney, and his daughter took an ecstasy tablet and she died. She was only in her teens, and him and his wife spent the rest of their life, talking to youth across Australia about what happened, and they wrote a book and everything. It can be that quick. We don't realise how quickly it just these drugs destroy. We're all taught, Claire, we don't do drugs because it's bad for you. I'm sure you had some sort of education like that in school, and your parents would have said, don't ever touch drugs, I would say. Like yourself. And but you get curious. You don't really see what happens if you take it. You might get taught in school, it gives you psychosis, it does this and that, but you don't really get it until the kids get a really good picture of it, because there's a lot of, in high schools, a lot of kids end up walking with us on our journey as we share, and they end up, really in tears and saying, I'm never going to touch that. That's horrible. I'm so sorry you went through that. And they come and give us hugs. We don't want to stand there and go, it was really good, because it wasn't really good. We thought it was really good initially, but that's not what we got. So if we can expose that to the kids, potentially, yes, we've done a lot of damage in the past, but we can do a lot of good in the future too. So, and I know that you're doing some good work today. Tell me a little bit about the rehab and stuff that you do there.
Yeah, so when I finally fell to my knees and decided that I needed the help.
Was it what your mum said?
Sorry?
Was it what your mum said that really touched you? What made you fall to your knees? What
happened? Not long. It was when my mum said that, I was still very defensive. I was still very much in denial. But I was facing charges from my house being raided. Within a couple of weeks of that phone call with my mum, I went to jail. I was caught again doing the same thing. I wasn't raided, but I walked into I walked into my dealer's house and he was being raided. And as soon as I walked in, they knew who I was. They knew I was coming, and they were waiting for me. And I went to jail for a few weeks. And even then, my son tried to lie on my behalf. My son tried to protect me, and he went and stayed with his dad and told my family that I'd gone away for a few weeks to just get well. And it was when I got out of jail that I had to come clean, and I begged and pleaded with my family to take me back. I lived in Airbnbs for as long as I could afford, so only a couple of months, until I was literally living out of a car that wasn't even mine, didn't even belong to me. And I begged my mum to take me in. And she did, under her rules. And she said, you don't step foot over this door unless you are going to live by my rules. I don't care whether you're 13 or 35. This isn't a hotel. You won't be going out at night. You won't be doing this. You won't be doing that. You come here, you live here, you get well, you do the right things, you seek the help that you need, you get a job. Moving into my mum's, I had all the best intentions. And I'm glad I can say that I did stay clean. And I've been clean since I went into jail. But it wasn't that easy. I couldn't fit. I didn't know how to belong in society anymore. I used to be really confident, and I could walk into any room and strike conversation with every person in that room before I left by the end of the day. I had no struggle with conversing or attending interviews or anything like that. But I was going through this time where I just couldn't function in society. I couldn't go to job interviews. I couldn't apply. I couldn't speak. I couldn't voice and talk nicely about myself or talk positively about myself to be able to kind of sell myself for a job, And that's when I realised that if I didn't get some proper help, professional help, then the second I leave my mum's house to find a place to live on my own again, I'm going to use, because my anxiety and depression was crippling me. Like it literally had its grips on me. And the only thing that I thought would help me deal with that is by using again. I just couldn't do that in my mum's house. So I had to stay there. And that's when I found Serenian House. And we went to an information session, and I was straight into an assessment to enter the residential rehab with them at the therapeutic community they have. It's called Serenity Lodge, and that place changed my life. I had thousands of masks with me, and they literally peeled me like an onion. I was there for 8 months, and I was not an easy nut to crack. And I remember multiple counsellors saying to me that if they'd have ever walked in to that rehab, they would have thought I was probably a counsellor, not someone with severe anxiety and depression and a drug addiction, you know. So after coming out of there, I owe my life to that place, but I also have to be I also have to take the credit for making those decisions myself, you know. Like, I give myself a lot of credit, and I'm very proud of the fact that I was able to approach that and just go into it not knowing, and to get vulnerable and to talk about my fears. And so, yeah, now I am very involved still with Serenian House. I've participated in their peer support worker training. So I now volunteer there as a peer support worker for drop-in groups for people still struggling and for people living recovery after TC, after the therapeutic community rehab. I do experience, strength and hope talks with Next Step Detox and with the rehabs that are a part of Serenian House. And now I'm a part of the AAIC team, which is just another step forward in the direction that I want to go in. You know, like, I'm studying my diploma in community services, and all of these things, all of this experience that I'm getting from the volunteer work and being involved with you guys is contributing to the path that I want to take in my life to help people. If sharing my story helps one person, then that's great. So yeah,
that's fantastic. That is fantastic. How's your relationship with your son today? I've got to ask, because I know people at home will be, you know, the restoration for your family.
Yeah, he's with me full time. He's throughout this whole thing, like, he's never ever, like, I've let him down so much, and he has never ever given up on me. He's never, he lost a lot of trust and respect for me, but that didn't take long. Through seeing me do the work, he is now my best friend, like my best friend again. He lives with me full time, and we've got a great relationship with his dad, so we spend some time with him, and he's doing great at school, and he's got all these goals and ambitions, and he knows what he wants. He wants to finish year 12 so that he can get into study computer engineering. And so, yeah, and like, even talking to him about what AAIC are all about, and wanting to come out into schools to educate, he's like, I hope you come to my school, Mum, because I think there's people there that need to hear about this. And I said to him, I was like, well, you'd actually want me in your school talking about the fact that I was a drug addict? And he was like, yeah, because I'm so proud. Like, I'm so proud of you. And he tells me that all the time. And he just is amazing.
That's so beautiful.
And my family as well, they're the same. Yeah.
You're very blessed. You've had people, to walk with you and support you, and your mum sounds amazing, because she got the help that she needed to learn how she could help you. You know, a lot of families ring. We have a family support number. It's on the bottom of the screen, guys. It's 0481 844 555. And we constantly we have online counsellors that manage those calls, and they help people every day. But, you know, when people call us, you know, when I used to take the calls, it would be like, my son's on ice, my daughter's on ice, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to start. So, and they're like, well, I've been feeding them there on the street, but I'm giving them money and they're not coming home. And I'm like, well, you can't. So we've got to teach them about what's going on in here, in the brain of somebody using, and why they're behaving like they're behaving, and how the family can help. And so we've been really blessed, because we've got some training through Optimal Health Group that George Patrici has put together, and it's called SAMI Brief, Substance Abuse and Mental Health Intervention. And it's a 2-hour training online that any parent can do, and it teaches them the skills to be able to understand the cycle of addiction, contemplation stage and what that looks like, how to recognize the signs for, that your loved one might be using or abusing a substance, and how to have that conversation, how to do a cost versus the benefits, and how to prepare to help your loved one create that pathway into recovery. So we're always here to help, the families with the counselling to learn those skills, and then us that have been through that, we're here as a peer support to be able to put our hand up to say, yeah, when your loved one's ready to to step out of that place, we're ready to have that conversation with them and help them create that pathway out. So we get a huge success because addiction, it involves a whole family, it involves a whole community. And when you don't know, especially with ICE, when you don't understand what's going on, because it's such a radical change and transformation, negative transformation in the person, you can't, as a parent, you just want to love them, you just want to stop them from hurting themselves, but you can't. So, with those, with that skill, you can actually, learn some tools, get some tools, and learn some new things on how you can help your loved one. You can do that training if you're interested on our website. Just pop on to www.australianantiicecampaign.org.au, and there's a little Sammy Boy logo, and you can click on that, and you can enroll, I guess, to do the training. So it's pretty awesome that that's available to families. But we do have the family support number if somebody wants to chat about it. And you're very blessed to have had your family there to support you. We help a lot of people that don't have anybody, and that that their family, they've lost complete contact. They've been 20 years down this path, and that they really don't have anybody that they can, that believe in them anymore, that want to know them, and that have given up on them. So if we're speaking to you and somebody sends you this clip, we want to walk with you. We're here to help you. We've been there. We understand, how hard it is. And you mentioned something too, Claire, that's really we see a lot of, and it's really, really important. To kind of put out there, a lot of people think that they don't have a problem. That's a biggie, and if you are using regularly and it's starting to have a negative impact on your life, then you have a problem. Yeah. No drugs, like when we talk in schools, no drugs that really are good for you, right? You get even prescription drugs in there, you have side effects, and you have a little white leaflet that comes out and says side effects, it could cause this, it could cause that. There's all side effects in everything that we take, even healthy stuff. When we take a substance, it might be Vital Greens or krill oil, it has an impact, a positive impact on our body. But if we take medication, even if it's prescribed, it has a negative impact on your body, as well as, fix the problem, but there's always, side effects. Nobody gives you the side effects of drugs that are put out there as recreational, and there's no leaflet. There's no warning, and we have decided to become that warning leaflet, in those drugs, because many people start off with ecstasy and marijuana and party pills, and they move on to stronger things and different things because they've already tried one, they'll try another one, and it has a roll-on effect. One thing starts another. But unlike myself, I just went straight to ice. It was just just insane why somebody would want to try it. It's curiosity. You don't understand what it is and what it's going to do to you forever. You like we were talking before, Yvonne was saying she struggles with forgiving herself for destroying people's lives. That's something that she will have to work with and work on and unpack with a counsellor, and it's a lifelong thing. Some of the things you can't take back. So we'd rather people not even try it, like this says, not even once. It's our message. So if you had last minute words to share, Claire, to anybody out there. We've got parents that are watching and that are helping loved ones. We've got people that are in addiction and early recovery, trying to stay clean. Any last minute advice like that you could give?
Try and be educated. Try and be educated to educate others. Share the message, share what you hear, share what you read. and be brave if you're someone still living in addiction and struggling to get out of it. Be brave and stand up for yourself and get heard, because that's a huge thing, is just being heard, and don't feel like you can't fall to your knees and be desperate and tell someone that you need help, because it's not weak. And if it gets you out of that pit, you're going to have a much better life.
Yeah, I bet you love the life you live now.
Oh, I'm living, it's cliche, I'm living a life beyond my wildest dreams now.
Yeah.
Awesome, and I've got everybody around me, and I'm so lucky. Like, I'm so blessed, and like, I thank God for all of the guidance that I've had. And my mum tells me today, everything that I've gone through has happened for a reason, because she truly believes that it's, even though in the time that it was all happening, it felt like the devil's work, but she said it's God's work, because you are meant to be sharing this journey. You are meant to be guiding your child. You are meant to be helping other people. It sucks that it took me 7 years to kind of be able to get that, but I've got that lived experience now, and like I said before, if I can help just one person, then it's a good thing.
Tell me something. Do you have any lingering side effects that you're left with from Ice World, as we call it?
I do. I'm still trying to. I still notice that my brain functionality, like, I still struggle with words sometimes. Like, I get into a heightened state when I know the word, but I just can't get it out. So there's some kind of neurological thing there that will take time, but eventually I believe that it'll come back. But I mean, I'm nearly 2 years clean and it still isn't yet. Restless. I've got really restless legs. That may not ever go away. And I struggle with night terrors, which is strange, because it's something that I've never ever experienced before. But that, I struggle a lot with night terrors and anxiety. I was never medicated for anxiety before addiction, and now I am, and I'm not sure whether that will ever go away. But so long-term effects are still there.
Yeah, definitely. I hear a lot of memory issues, kidney problems, because you're putting, poisons into your body. I bet when somebody first offered you to snort this or to have a pipe, you didn't see that there was Drano in there, and there was acetone in there, and countertop cleaner or glass or stuff like that. Were you shocked?
I had no idea. I didn't even know it was a man-made drug. And even now to this day, like, now I'm educated and now I know all these things. There's and I'm so, like, I'm so on board with wanting to share my experience, because it is so dangerous. And even it was only recently that I lost a friend to this drug, because they, with the COVID thing and the lack of it, I believe, a friend of mine overdosed on lithium because it was packed with lithium. And it's just another thing that they put into it, and the danger of it is tragic. Like, my friend lost his life, and this was only a matter of months ago.
I'm so sorry to hear that. We do hear that more often than we want to, and the purity of this drug on the streets, has risen dramatically. And by purity, I mean the concentration of it, where it used to have like a 15-20% purity level when I was using the concentration of it, and it's left me with damaged organs and memory issues and speech, definitely. But now it's up to even 90%, concentration, which is what they call purity. So people go, oh, this is pure stuff, it's pure rubbish, it's pure, So we've got to really put it into context of the words they use. It's pure, crazy. But I'm so glad that you have stepped into recovery. You've maintained that. You've got your life back. It is a blessing to have you part of the AAIC team in WA. I can't wait to get over there and come and give you a squish. We do squishes. I don't like this whole thing at all. Hugs and love is good, makes the world go round, I reckon. But so I can't wait to get there, and we're I believe we're getting some really good interest in the schools there, and we're going to hit the ground running early next year. So we really look forward to working with you, Claire. Claire, thank you so much for sharing, the in-depth of your story. We're going to tag you on this show. So if anybody has any questions that you want to ask, now's the time to do it. But we will tag Claire in on the show, and you'll be able to ask any questions. So she'll be able to see them come up. And, if you need help, guys, we're here to help you walk out of that darkness and into a life worth living, like Claire has done. She's got her life back. You can do it. It's hard work, but it's available to you. And like Claire, I live a life beyond my wildest dreams. I'm just so blessed, and it's a few of us make it out. Some of us lose our lives, like your friend did. Others end up in prison, and some in mental health institutes forever. So it's a really sad journey. Not even once, guys. That's our, that's what we're saying. Don't touch it. It's not worth it. It's not gonna. It doesn't pay the price. The price you pay, it's not worth it. Don't go there. Yeah, if you need to get hold of one of our workshop, we are doing booking workshops for WA team for early next year. Please get in touch with us. We're taking bookings now. So we're starting to fill up early up in the year. February, March, it's starting to get quite busy. So we encourage you to get us in your school. Yeah. So, speak, if you're from WA, speak to your school principals, to your PNC. But yeah, let's make this happen. Let's educate our kids from real lived experience, and let's put the freeze on ice in your community. Yeah. So Claire, thank you so much. God bless you. You're absolutely stunning and beautiful inside and out.
Thank you.
And, you're just a beacon of light for those that are still entrapped in addiction. I know that if they're watching, they think maybe this could be for me. Maybe I could reach out for help. Just maybe. Yeah, and I'm sure you're already helping people out there.
Absolutely.
To walk with them. I look forward to chatting with you.
Absolutely.
I need to teach you a little slogan. Are you ready? Have you seen it before?
Go.
It goes not.
I don't think so.
Like that? Not. Even.
Yeah.
Even.
Yeah.
Once.
I love it.
Not even once. Awesome to have you on the show. Thank you so much. Guys, stay tuned. We will be back next Thursday, and we'll be crossing live, and I might show you a little bit about something very big coming soon. Take care. God bless. Stay clean. I'll see you next week. Get in touch with us on 1-800-NO-TO-ICE if you need information or book a school workshop or you need support. Take care. God bless. See you next week.